We are so excited to be joined right now by our friend Chris Level from the Texas Tech Red Raider Radio Network. Lockdown Red Raiders. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. How about you, fine gentlemen?
Doing very well.
Fantastic.
You know, I was thinking during the Kansas-Texas Tech game the other night that Tech basketball's come a long way since the days of Daryl Dora. You know what I mean?
Hey, he did beat Kansas a couple times. Yeah,
but, if you know, you know, you know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now Darren Peterson is joined that same club on the opposite side of it. But no, yeah, I mean, Big 12 hoops, man. It's just like what a pleasure it is to be in this league, and just the gauntlet that is, and it's just very entertaining. I mean, Texas Tech has just hosted 3 straight home games with 3 top 5 players that are all freshmen. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, in order: Debansa, Flemings, and then Peterson. I mean, it's awesome. Anyway, and I'm sorry for the Kansas State fans out there dealing with what they're dealing with. Sorry, James, but
everything's fine. Everything's
we
fine.
digress.
Everything's fine.
How's Christian doing? And do you expect that he won't miss any more time?
I was talking to Taman before we came on. I was like, I kind of thought we'd go into this game with Kansas with all the drama. You guys
Right.
are well aware, and yet it was Texas Tech with the drama. I mean, I was at shoot around earlier in the day, just never really noticed anything. He has been beat up. He got hit pretty hard against UCF, but I just thought that's not who this kid is. He just doesn't miss. He doesn't come off the floor, and he's not out there in warm-ups. I'm like, well, what's going on? And so, yeah, about half an hour, it's like, hey, we may have a problem. I'm like, I think you have a serious problem. He's involved in everything you do. He's been playing 40 minutes a night, and it just doesn't. You just don't think anything of it. That's just who the kid is. But I was actually, if you tell me that the morning of, I'm like, you have zero shot, just because he is directly involved in everything you're doing, and he's so good at it. But I think he'll be okay. That would be the hope. But Texas Tech doesn't play again till Super Bowl Sunday. So when you guys are watching the Patriots and the Seahawks, and I know y'all are big Bad Bunny enthusiasts, y'all have to let me know how it goes, because I'll be on a plane coming home from Morgantown.
Chris, we're doing our transfer portal tracker series. We're at the top of the Big 12. We've started from 16, gone to 1, and Texas Tech. We know about Brendan Sorsby. Outside of Sorsby, though, what position group or who are some guys that we need to know about transferring to Texas Tech?
Yeah, and it's well documented that this is a program that's gonna be active in the portal. That this is just where they feel like they can level the playing field with, and trying to push through and maintain at the top. The Sorsby thing is funny because you in no way felt like you were going to go be involved at this position and needing a quarterback until Will Hammond went hurt, and then it's like, we may have a problem. Which you have to adjust every budget, your kind of plan, all of it around that, and then, So anyway, that was an interesting one, but they got the guy that they wanted. They brought him back to Texas, and I think he wanted to come back to Texas. But other than that, it's front seven. That's what you're looking to try to replace, and what won't be made enough of with Texas Tech's team this offseason is there's a few, like, you have to go look at what they added in the portal last year, and look at who they still have from that portal class. Bryce Pollock is an all-conference guy. Terrence Carter at tight end is an all-conference guy. Howard Sampson will probably be a left tackle that'll be an all-conference guy. A.J. Holmes, who was just kind of this throw-in, he was an All-American at defensive tackle. He's still here. So they add all these guys into the nucleus, and then they've been recruiting at a very high level. But your defensive ends, and I know you guys have talked about that. Trey White, Adam Trick, these are handpicked guys that James Blanchard wanted. Mateen and Bryce Butler from University of Washington, and Mateen from Wake Forest. These are D tackles that you'll add to A.J. Holmes, and then trying to replace. Jacob Rodriguez which is impossible. But I just don't know if you were going to find a better fit
Right.
for what you were looking for than Austin Romaine. And I think analytically, there's some that would say he could be a better player than Jacob. I find that hard to believe, because what you can't replace with Jacob is kind of the culture, the heart, the fit, all that stuff. And so, but yeah, they have a top portal class. We're a top 5 portal class, and you have a lot back. And yeah, there should be some very high expectations for this team.
Yeah, I think obviously Texas Tech should be the favorite, but I also think BYU should, based on what they bring back versus Tech and what they lose. Help me how have you gone about evaluating how good this team is from a roster standpoint? Because, I don't know that there's any way that they can get to that defensive level, because that was a historically great defense, but it feels like the offense has improved. So just I guess, Chris, give us your sense here of improvements overall. Where are they better? Where are they worse? What's your biggest, question marks?
Yeah, well, it's funny because you're not alone, and there's just no way that defense could be as good. Okay, well maybe you just win games by 15 points a game instead of 20.
Right.
I don't know.
And they don't need the defense to be that good. It's important to know that was a historically great defense.
Yeah, but I think the offense could be, and again, it's crazy because your offense statistically, it was a top 10 offense in the country. Points scored, yards per game, all that stuff. There were some red zone issues. Those were well documented. I talked to you guys about those. I think you could actually be quite a bit better on offense. And what I mean by that is it may not even show up in your points per game and all that. You are going to be in a position to lean on teams and smash them, because there's 2 guys that were part of the portal class last year that were topped at their position, that never played it down, that are both back. Hunter Zambrano was one of the top offensive linemen in the portal rankings last year. He didn't play it down because he had some injury issue, and then there was time in the middle of the year, and they're like, you know what? Let's shut you down. Let's redshirt. You interested? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And then Quentin Joyner was going to be the starter at running back, and he was better than Cam Dickey and Jacoby Williams. Well, all Cam Dickey did was go for over 1,000 yards, and Jacoby Williams proved to be one of the most explosive players in the league, and I think the country. And Quentin Joyner is now back. So now you can put Jacoby Williams in the slot. You can use him like Malachi Toney with what Miami was doing, and just move him around. He's an elite returner, but they didn't really put him there until the very end of the season because they're trying to protect him, because they just had 2 guys. If Quentin Joyner comes back at any kind of level that he was at, because he was a transfer from USC, now you've just, and the most dramatic change with their team is Brendan Sorsby. And why is that? It's because he can run the football. When your quarterback has a running component to them, it makes you very, very difficult to defend. And he did it to the tune of 600 yards and 9 touchdowns?
Yeah.
So that is the, and again, Terrence Carter's back. Basically, your entire offensive line is back. Both tackles, your starting center. You're going to, Hunter Zambrano, who I've just talked about. And then they brought in a guy named Josh Church from Louisville, who was late to get in the portal. He was rated as one of the top run blockers out there, and he'll immediately come in at 6'4", 335. And so I just think they're going to be looking to smash people, and it'll be a play action situation where they've added some speed at receiver, but I think it'll look a little bit different, and they'll be able to lean on teams a bit, and that's what Joey wants to do. He wants to play defense, and he wants to smash and run the football. As he says, big people beat up little people.
Well, when you look at the receivers, that's what stood out to me. All of the guys that they brought in were 15 to 25 yards per catch. It looks like they've added speed and verticality.
Yeah, I think depending on who you listen to, your receiver spot. Reggie Virgil and Caleb Douglas and Koye, they were good, okay, but I don't know if it reached the level of potential that, maybe there was some plays left out there. Maybe they didn't separate as much as they wanted. So I don't know if there's I'm not trying to be mean. If there's like, okay, how are we going to replace those guys? That wasn't the thought. And so Kenny Johnson was always thought to be like the number one at Pitt. He ended up being kind of more of a number two, but he can flat out run. He's an elite returner as well. And I think that people will start to learn about Micah Hudson now. It's now his time. I think he's a junior all of a sudden. I think that and then you guys, I know you guys mentioned Jalen Jones and Dante Lee that can flat out run. James Blanchard would tell you that Kenny Johnson and Dante Lee will be drafted next year just solely based on the fact that that they can run and they'll trigger a time and they've got measurables to go with it. So, I've heard some and it's fair. I've heard some criticism about Brendan Sorsby and the way he's finished seasons. And again, the wins and the losses it is what it is. I just don't know if he'll have ever played with a group like he's about to play with on either side of the ball, actually. So, but I don't disagree with your premise in that I think Texas Tech and BYU can be talked about in a similar category on pick your favorite flavor of ice cream if you want, think these guys should be the favorites, whatever. But I think there's a pretty clear pecking order. Then it's those two, and then you can get into the next tier. Doesn't mean it will stay that way. Sports are funny that way,
Right.
But I think coming into this, there's just not a lot of questions on this team. But can you replace David Bailey?
No.
I mean, I don't know if that's possible.
Right.
I think Adam Trick and Trey White, maybe they're like 8.5s, whereas like David Bailey and Romello Height were 10s.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that, again, that goes back to, okay, maybe you're just winning games by 13 or 14 points instead of by 20. I mean, I don't know. There's levels to this, but you should be really good on defense again.
All right, offensive line. Is there an expectation that Felix Ojo can start right away? And who? No. Okay.
Yeah.
And who are your five?
He may have that expectation, but that's not reality. They wanted to add one piece. They wanted to add an interior lineman. I called him Josh a while ago. It's actually Jordan Church. Sorry,
Yeah.
There's all these new names we're learning. So, but I think they felt like Hunter Zambrano was like a portal addition this year, right? He's been in the program, and again, he was one of the top portal guys in the entire country last year at offensive line, and they wanted to get bigger and more physical. I think that they feel like that their tackles will inherently just be better than they were a year ago from a year into the system and a full off season and all those kinds of things. And then Sheridan Wilson, on 3 we're listed the top 100 players in the country coming into next year, and Sheridan Wilson, their center, who's kind of this glue guy, he was listed in that group. So and he's back. He will be a 3-year starter. So there's a lot of experience, a lot of snaps, all that with the offensive line. And they added a kid named Jet Carpenter from Nevada that was graded out as the top run blocking tight end, to replace John Carlos Miller, and he'll be next to Terrence Carter. That's what I'm saying. You're just really built to really smash people. I mean, if you want to, and then use the play action to kind of throw it over the top with some of these speed guys. So they will have a lot of answers on offense if Brendan Sorsby stays healthy. But that's the name of the game. I just love the way the kid's wired, and he's a Texan, and I think that's what Joey was big on. And Mac Leftwich's dad actually was part of a staff that coached him in high school, so there was some connection there.
Chris Level, always fun to chop it up with you, Chris. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Hope is alive, boys. And we'll talk to you next time. And congrats to Ari with Darren Peterson, hitting the 3-point shots. Man, it's the way. That's, as Ron Washington used to say, the manager of the Texas Rangers. That's the way baseball goes.
That's the way baseball go.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right. See you, boys.
See you, bud.